Hi everyone, welcome to the pre-watch video on expense recognition. I hope that before looking at this, you have already gone through the video on the revenue recognition where we had illustrated some of the points in relation to accrual in respect of your income. So in this very small video, I'm going to talk to you about when does a particular business decide to take a particular expense into its income statement. Good news is the answer is exactly the same when the accrual is complete and you have looked at different conditions which are supposed to be there so that I can assume that my revenue recognition accrual is done. Now there are a bit of, I don't say too much, but yeah, a little bit of complicacy as far as expenses are concerned. The reason is because there are two broad type of expenses. Like in case of revenue, we never kind of classified different revenues. We just said that a job should be done from a service provider point of view. But in case of expenses, I'm going to give you two different types of expenses, and accrual for both of these as a result of this classification is going to happen at a different point in time. So to answer a question, when is accrual for an expense complete? You first must answer the question, what kind of an expense is the one that I am talking about, right? So I'm going to show you the screen. Yeah. And on your screen are two broad type of expenses that you look at. The first category, put very simply, are the expenses which are related to a particular unit of output. So I'm going to say that these are relatable to the finished goods. And why I'm not using the word finished goods specifically, because then the service oriented firms will have problem in application of this concept. So related to output, and output could be a product or a service. So what kind of expenses are these? Let's say raw material in context of a manufactured finished goods, or the human resource payment in case of consulting firm. Now these are the expenses where you can draw a one-on-one mapping between the input cost vis-a-vis the output revenue. That's what is a direct expense to me, the first category. Okay, and don't worry about too much about what it is called and all, but just think about it that what are these kind of expenses, and there could be a lot of these expenses which might also be in functions other than manufacturing. So you have, for example, warranty. So whenever a particular unit is sold, the manufacturer typically is a situation with automobile or in FMCG where you get some kind of a warranty as a consumer. Now, from a seller's point of view, that warranty is an expense. It's actually a commitment that should the customer face any problem tomorrow, they can come back to me and I will service the product free of cost. So it's like a commitment. And the commitment, the trigger for commitment is the sale that happens today. So I can very well point out and map each warranty claim with the product that I have sold, because in some cases the terms and conditions of each product are very unique in that sense, right? So the point I was driving home here is that if an expense is direct, then it is said to be accrued. In a way, when do you transfer it to income statement? It is said to be accrued when the output to which it is associated is sold. In simpler word, which year do I take a direct expense, a relatable expense into P&L, right? In the same year in which its corresponding sales have entered. And I would imagine that you recall there is something called as sales minus cost of goods sold is equal to gross profit. And while we were discussing it for the first time, I told you that it is cost of goods sold, not goods produced. So you see that COGS also in a way is like a direct expense. You can clearly relate it to the unit of output. This is the goods, this cost of producing goods, which is sold, which is just here above. And COGS is not the only direct expense that I wanted. It's just to illustrate the point. So you have other things like inventory, which is COGS we spoke about. We are going to talk about bad debt in the concept of provisioning. Provisioning is actually one of the other corollary concept which flies out of this direct expense concept. And the whole fundamental of creating a mapping, creating a tagging of a particular expense with its corresponding output is known with the formal name of matching principle. So whenever in a question, in an exam, in an interview, someone asks you about what's the matching principle, you're creating a match. So basically your answer should be that for a particular set of expenses which are relatable to the output, we tag them to the to the output, and only in the year where that output gets sold, that's the year in which my expenses is going to go there. So what's going to happen till then? So let's say I've produced the inventory but I haven't sold it. So my cash payment, etc., all have been done, let's assume, but the inventory hasn't been sold. Can I transfer cost of goods sold to P&L? No. But till then, where would it lie? Well, it's going to be there with me in the balance sheet under the asset, because there is a future economic benefit that I can see. My finished goods, in the finished goods go down, is exactly like a short-term asset. Okay, so till the time you take it to P&L, you keep it with you in the balance sheet under the asset, right? The second category of expenses, I'm talking about the right side of my slide. The second category of expenses are those which are not related to output but related to time. It is something which has nothing to do with a particular unit of output, but it is per month, but it is per year. Now here's where a mature mind like yours have to really worry about. The point that I was driving home here is that there are many expenses that are actually direct, but you can always, in general parlance, think and talk to them about as if they are per month. So you can always say, my consumption per month is 50 crores. My warranty per month is roughly 5 crores. Now, this is only for the parlance, only for the conversation. Inventory, bad debts, warranties, and there are many other expenses like those. They might be converged in any unit, but you have to just keep in mind that these are the ones which are actually relatable to a particular unit of output. So they are going to be treated as an accounting principle, only using the matching principle. Only once the sale happens, related direct expense enter the P&L. Till then, sit there in the balance sheet comfortably under assets, like a prepaid expense or as inventory. So the second type of expenses I was talking about are related to time. Let's say CEO's salary. The CEO is not really focusing on any particular product. A CFO, a legal charge, audit fees, general marketing expense, again, the maintenance of the factory. Now again, the maintenance of a factory is not related to any particular unit of output. In which case, when should I transfer a maintenance or a repair expense to P&L? Well, any expense related to time gets accrued when that time period ends. So rent for the month of January is accrued on 31st of January. Doesn't matter when you pay for it. So in case you happen to pay a little early, it's called as prepaid. In case you don't pay even till 31st of January, then it becomes outstanding. All of that accrual, prepaid, etc. outstanding you've done. So what's the trigger point? What's the exact point in time where you can take these expenses to P&L? Anything which is related to time, where that time passage happens. Anything related to output, when that unit of inventory, when the unit of service is actually sold. Right? There is no matching concept here. Doesn't matter whether you have sold 1 unit or 100 units, anything related to time is going to still hit your P&L. Right? So these are the two things you want to keep into mind. I'll see you very soon in my live class with a practical example, which is going to make things relatively clearer. Right? Very excited to speak to you in the live class. Thanks for watching this.